Exercise 4.2. You are provided with information regarding Park General Traders. The business is registered for VAT. Instructions. Number 1. What is meant by VAT input and VAT output, and how does it influence the payment the business makes to SARS? Now remember, VAT input is paid to the supplier of the goods that we bought. So in other words, input is connected to the products coming into the business, and this can be claimed back from SARS. What is VAT output? VAT is levied on goods sold, and this must be paid to SARS. How does it affect SARS? So in other words, the money that I need to pay to SARS, output VAT, minus the input VAT that is going to be paid to SARS. Refer to the invoice below and calculate. Number 2. The amount of VAT output included in the R1,589.76. So in other words, when you look at the invoice, R1,589.76 is the total. So the total is made up of 3 items that were sold, and these 3 items, 2 of them has VAT included and 1 has no VAT. So if I want to work out the VAT, I'm only going to consider the VAT items. So in other words, those 2 are now VAT inclusive. If I add them together and then times by 14 divided by 114, so I want VAT, so I times 14. I have inclusive, so I divide by 114. That's going to tell me the VAT amount. So in other words, the VAT amount is calculated by doing the following. I add the 2 amounts together that includes VAT. So therefore, the R1,532.16 inclusive of VAT, if I times that by 14 and divide by 114, I'm going to get only the VAT amount of 188.16. Number 3. The net selling price of 1 spade excluding VAT output. So in other words, we sold spades. Now one price, the unit price is R95.76. That is inclusive of VAT. So once again, if I want the net selling price of 1 spade excluding VAT, net selling price is times 100 over, I have the inclusive price, so it's divided by 114. So therefore, we do the following calculation. So R95.76 times 100 because I want exclusive, and over 114 because I have inclusive. Therefore, my price is R84 without any VAT connected to it. So that's the selling price excluding VAT. Number 4. The cost of 1 spade excluding VAT. So remember, we just worked out the selling price. Now we want the cost. So in other words, the cost is this value that they give me here. NPP, LA. And I get that by looking at my cost code. M is 0, S is 9. So in other words, N would then be 2, P would be 5, P would be 5, L is 3, and A is 6. So that is the cost code inclusive. So inclusive of VAT, NPP, LA is 255.36. So that gives you the cost code for 4 spades. So I divided by 4 to get the cost code for 1 spade, and that is then R63.84. So if I want excluding VAT, remember excluding VAT is now times 100 over 114. So therefore I take my R63.84 times 100 to get excluding over 114 because I have inclusive. And that gives me R56 exclusive cost price. Question number 5. the profit per spade earned by the business. So in other words, we've just worked out the selling price and we've just worked out the cost price. So if I take the difference between selling and cost price, I see that my profit is 28 Rand per spade exclusive of VAT. Question number 6. The amount of VAT input levied on one spade, and we will answer question number 7 directly after that, the amount of output VAT connected on one spade. So you can either use the values that we've just used, the 84 Rand and the 56, and then simply times it by 14, or you can go back and use the inclusive values and just times by 14 over 114. I'm going to do that. So firstly, the input VAT, I use the 63 Rand and 84 cents. I want VAT, so I times by 14. I have inclusive, so I divide by 114. So my input VAT is 7 Rand 84 cents. My output VAT, then I use my 95 Rand and 76 cents, the selling price inclusive. I want VAT and I have input VAT, inclusive amount, so I divide by 114, that gives me 11 Rand 76 cents. So question number 8 is then asking you, what is the amount that we need to pay to SARS in respect of one spade? So in other words, if my value that I need to pay to them is 11 Rand 76 cents output VAT, and I can claim back 7 Rand 84 cents input VAT, then the difference between the two is what I would actually end up paying to SARS. So therefore, output of 11 Rand 76 minus input of 7 Rand 84 tells me that 3 Rand 92 cents will actually be paid to SARS. Now, just something interesting that is a little bit extra. Remember, VAT stands for value added tax. So therefore, the value that I added, that is what I will get taxed on. So if my value that I added was 28 Rand, if you go and work out what is 14% of my value added, in other words, of my profit added, then 28 Rand times 14% brings me back to the value of 3 Rand 92. And that is in the end the VAT that needs to be paid over to SARS.